Hi, welcome back. It's season 5, episode 4. Thank you for sticking around. This episode has been a different one. So deep, but I am liking the direction it's going. Now, one of the hardest parts of moving to a new country is the loneliness that no one prepares you for. We glamorize the newness, but we don't really talk about what it definitely means in actual sense. I'm not talking about dramatic loneliness, just the quiet realization that your entire life has been reset. Hello, I'm Lydia, and on this channel, we ground ourselves and name what is. So I share real life stories in the context of and about transitions. Not in a polished way, but the honest one. Just so that when life is shifting under your feet, you don't feel alone while you're figuring things out. Because sometimes the hardest transitions are the ones that look exciting to everyone else. Let's get straight into it. In the previous episodes, I talked about moving to the US, adjusting to a new environment, and realizing how much my husband's military career would shape our lives. But there was another reality unfolding at the same time. I was alone in a new country. I left my family behind. My entire family, well, not entirely, one of my brothers is also in the US. But my entire, what I called the people that I related with a lot, was in Kenya. I left my friends, the people I could call, the people I could just get up and leave and go to. I had my professional networks, the people I had worked with, and the people I was working with, and the people that I could call on. And I didn't know anyone nearby except for a friend that my husband had introduced me to, and a church community that honestly became my family, ended up becoming my solid ground, ended up becoming like my anchor. In Kenya, my life was full. It was full of people. It was full of family, friends, colleagues. In fact, I just think I lacked time to do everything I wanted to do. There were always conversations. There were always connections. There was always someone who knew me. In America, I was starting from zero. No one really prepares you for how quiet life can become when you move somewhere new. That's why I talk about it, because it's part of a transition. There are long days at home when you're sitting by yourself and you're thinking, what would I be doing now? On a Friday, I remember my life in Kenya. Fridays, well, maybe it's just a Kenyan thing or an African thing, but Friday life comes to a standstill. Even the office just feels different. People even put on different clothes, more casual. Friday by 3-4 p.m, life is just about to begin. There's plans of where are we going, who are we meeting. Sometimes there's even no plans, but we're gonna end up somewhere. Life was buzzing. From that to on a Saturday, you're questioning yourself, okay, what do I do now? After church, what's gonna happen? Before you find your grounding, it can be very, very isolating. You're also navigating everything alone. I remember, I don't know if this applies to anyone, but in my situation, my husband was away in a different country, and so I had to navigate quite a few things on my own, and sometimes I felt too dependent because I was asking just so many questions. I craved just the independence that I had. If only I didn't have to ask this many questions. If only I could just wake up and knew everything in a heartbeat. Sometimes I did not know who to call because my husband was working, or our time zone differences with also my family in Kenya and my friends. And also not wanting to seem as if I did not know things. You are a whole lawyer. You are a whole, so you don't know who to call. You want to seem like you know things. You really don't know things. And you don't know what to do about that whole situation of wanting to seem like you know, but you don't know. And I mean some of those casual conversations that we just had with even strangers, Life was not dramatically lonely, if I can say that. It was subtle. It was subtle loneliness. That kind where you realize you haven't spoken to anyone all day. If you're used to working, particularly in Kenya, I never worked remotely, so you're used to seeing people around. There's this tradition of 10 o'clock tea. You're used to taking some snacks with people, conversating. Someone has texted you about something. Then sometimes the whole day can just go without anyone talking to you, and I didn't understand that at that time, but community is part of how we regulate ourselves. Some of those inner demons that start to come when you are lonely, they are not there because when you're surrounded by people, your energy shifts. Their energy kind of, also infuses with yours, and it shifts your cortisol levels. You're happier. You feel like you have some support. You feel like you have some grounding. When you lose that entire social system overnight, your nervous system feels it. It does feel it. Because it's not just loneliness. It's some sort of disorientation that's going on with you. But you also don't know how to say it. And I'm hoping that as we go through this, you understand them and we can name exactly what it is. In comparison, I had always seen myself as confident, independent, capable. But in this new environment, I felt unsure in ways I'd never experienced before. Not because I had changed, but because the system around me had changed. And when people start over somewhere, they think something is wrong with them if they struggle. I was struggling, but I couldn't verbalize it. Please know isolation is not a personal failure. It is often the natural result of losing the environment where your identity was built. To take us back, at the time I thought this loneliness was temporary, just a part of adjusting. But what I didn't realize was just how that isolation would affect my confidence later. I'm going to talk about that. Because when you're alone long enough, you start questioning parts of yourself that were never a problem before. And the next place I felt that shift was in my career. Well, it's coming up. And I want to remind us that becoming is really not one big moment. It is a series of quiet transitions. And I hope that you realize them as we go through this series. And we all deserve gentleness through all of our life's transitions. If you've ever started over somewhere new and felt completely alone, tell me in the comments. I'd like to know. Is there something that helped you rebuild your sense of belonging? And if this story resonates, subscribe, like, and share with someone who might need it or might relate to it. I'm telling this journey one chapter at a time, guys. Because the next chapter might explain something you have been carrying quietly inside. See you tomorrow.